All right, welcome everyone to the November 11th Historic Preservation Commission meeting. We are going to open the meeting with, how did we do it before? Roll call. You want us to just all say our names?
Roll call is
Yes.
good, thanks.
Okay, and so we're gonna go around the room and do that so that we can do the meeting minutes accurately. I am Angela Thompson.
Carol Danke, Suzanne Indelicato,
John Pierce,
Jean Spur,
Brian Bergfeld,
John Eagle.
Sean Peoples.
John Wagner.
Hillary Perkins.
All right, everyone, thank you very much. Our first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes. Did anyone have any comments?
That's the name off there. Were you here this week or last month? Yeah. I think I got you on the next one. For present.
Okay, so we need to
And
add Jean. Is there? Hey, does anyone have any comments? All right, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 14 meeting minutes with the understanding that Jean Spur will be added to the list of those present.
Second, thank you. So, is there a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Is everyone in favor? You gotta say aye, sorry.
I wasn't here, so I'm going
Yeah.
to abstain.
Oh, that's fine. You're not, yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, opposed? All right, the meetings are accepted with those revisions. Okay, so we are going to move up one of our presentations for the EV charging station to right now. We're going to start with that. So,
Thank you, I appreciate it. If you just, you can get, no, I mean, just to use the mouse to use the notification. So good evening, my name is John Wagner, Director of Planning and Development. We're running some policy issues by all the boards and commissions. So I think last time we talked about the front facing garages. So this time we're gonna get your thoughts on electric vehicle EV charging requirements for the city. So tonight will be the first presentation, and then on December 9th, I'll come back and gather a list of your thoughts or recommendations relative to EV charging systems based on this. So I'll give you a whole month to kind of mull it over and think about it a little bit, just like we did on the front facing garages. And that'll give me enough time to, I think I do a presentation to the city council on the 16th. So that'll give me a couple of days to get all the comments from you fine folks into my comments. So did I do that right? Bear with me for I'm kind of dialing up the there we go. Some of the comments and questions from the city council on July 15th, way back on July presentation. Some of the comments and questions were, so what is Ameren's involvement in this? A fair amount, as you might imagine. What are some of the safety and permitting issues? We want to think about those simultaneously. We can't, certainly I think safety is first and foremost, but so is the permitting. Would like to see the EV ready requirements done right away was one of the comments. And how many electric vehicle related fires have there been in Webster Groves? Spoiler alert, not very many, but I'll have some caveats on that. And one of the options is, do we approve standalone ordinances for EVs and EV charging, or simply incorporate the regulations as part of a comprehensive code review? And that's pretty much been the case with many of the issues we're talking about relative to alternate dwelling units, Airbnbs, and all these things. Do we do it kind of a piecemeal, one at a time in an incremental stage, or do we kind of do it all at once? So, and a little bit of both things. And I'm gonna just put all these in there. I'm not sure why they're showing up like that. Basically, we have an overview of national trends in electric vehicle charging. As you can imagine, they are moving at a pretty quick pace with all the electric vehicles we see on the road. What are some of the key criteria for considering establishing electric vehicles charging stations in the code? Some of the challenges of that and steps to consider an EV charging station entitlement, i.e. permitting, zoning and that sort of thing. What some other communities are doing in the St. Louis area and some possible next steps. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump right in and ask.
Are we talking about residential or commercial charging?
A little bit of both, a little bit of both. Mostly, well, we'll get to it, but yeah, it is both. Mostly residential as far as requiring EV charging, but we get into single family, multifamily apartment complexes as well as commercial. Mostly the residential part, I think, though, but commercial does play a part in it as well.
John, if I may just to clarify.
Sure.
We only meet once a month.
Correct.
So after your presentation, shall we discuss at that point? You know, you need to leave, or would you like to have our?
Oh, you can
have our
discuss it for a few minutes if you'd like after I'm done. You're welcome. I mean, I'm not trying to rush out or anything, but yeah, we can discuss it for a few minutes and then I can get comments from you tonight, or you can kind of mull it over for a few days and I can get them on December 9th,
Okay, we can
whatever
do
you
that
guys want to do.
with both, because I just wanted to.
Sure.
To understand when you wanted our feedback, or
Mhm.
if you need to go, maybe we could do our discussion later in the meeting or something.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
It's up to you. I'm happy to talk about it now if you guys have any questions, but I don't need the feedback until December 9th. The official recommendations from the HPC until December 9th.
Thanks.
Okay. So construction costs differ dramatically between charging station types. Probably no surprise. A level 1 charger can cost up to $3,000 for construction labor. Really not a whole lot, I don't think, as far as these kind of things go. Level 3 chargers, however, can run up to about $100,000. And I think the difference primarily in that is the level 1 chargers take quite a bit longer to charge a vehicle, like several hours, as opposed to the level 3 chargers are the ones that you can do it in like 30 minutes or something like that. So an insane amount of time, but the hardware on both those is quite a bit different. And if anybody else has any knowledge on these things, I'm far from an expert on EV charging. So if anybody has any more information, feel free. Fire department, no EV charging fires to date, but there have been a few lithium ion battery fires. And the one thing I think that would be a cautionary tale on putting these in residential units is the lithium ion fires are impossible to put out. Basically, that people have taken the cars, if the battery catches on fire, of course the car is going to catch on fire. You really can't put the thing out. I mean, it takes you can't put water on it because that just makes it worse. So they end up just dragging the thing out of the garage and letting it burn itself out. Probably not a great option either, but it's better than, so the fires are really difficult to put out and they get really hot. So that would create some issues putting these in residential units, and we have some pretty hefty requirements on making sure that there's firewalls properly suited between the garage and where the rest of the house, if it's an attached garage, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest issues relative to this. Missouri revised statute 67.288. EV charging mandates may not be required on, quote, on any parking lot owned or leased to any church or nonprofit organization exempt from taxation under, if they're a 501c3, basically, so a nonprofit. So the state has jumped in and required, say that we can't require that on anything owned by a nonprofit, basically, so. So most municipalities regulate EV charging stations through the NEC, National Electric Code. They do through 2017. Webster Groves right now uses the 2014 NEC, and we've been looking at upgrading that to like either 2020 or 2021 NEC, which would again take care of many of these of the issues that we're talking about tonight. But there's still not one available for a universal charging network. Most EVs use the combined charging system. Tesla and a few others use the North American charging standard. So there's no one size fits all for electric vehicles. And I don't know if a Tesla plugs into what some of the other EVs do. I'm not sure if they're universal outlets. I don't think they are. I can't imagine they would be. I know when I was in University City, our code enforcement vehicles were Nissan Leafs, which were really cool because they just traveled around town during the day. But I think those were fairly specific outlets that only fit the Nissan, I believe so. So a typical code required spaces, so a residential, it would be one possibility. This is not set in stone. One EV ready space per dwelling unit. And we're talking about making them EV ready, which means when a new home is built, they'd have to make it EV ready. They wouldn't have to put the actual charging station in, but they would put the infrastructure in to make it much easier for a homeowner to finish installing it if they wanted to have one of the stations there. A commercial 5% EV installed and 10% EV ready was a possibility.
Percent of square footage or what percent of free space?
Yeah. So EV space is typically mandated with new construction or major remodel.
How
So
is a major remodel defined?
I'm not sure. We haven't gotten that far yet, but basically if it's like a total redo of the house, I mean, if you do an addition on the back, that doesn't count as a remodel. So, but if you're redoing something, maybe building a new garage, at that point, it may be required. Or it may not be if we choose not to.
Yeah, I think it would be very important to somehow differentiate between a remodel and a repair.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because if somebody gets hit with storm damage or something, or if they have a foundation repair that's pretty devastating, in a smaller home, you can get up to what's considered a major remodel in terms of dollars very quickly.
Yeah, and if and when this becomes part of the code, we would have those things defined fairly sharply.
Yeah, just so it doesn't
Yeah.
become a chilling effect to people repairing and maintaining.
Yeah, I mean, they're just doing something. What do you mean I gotta charge so, yeah,
Right.
yeah, if and when this becomes part of the code, those things will be defined quite clearly.
Very good.
So the IFC International Code, Fire Code 2024, extensive rules pertaining to the lithium ion battery storage. Again, the lithium ion battery is kind of a big part of the safety of the whole thing because of the fires I mentioned a moment ago. In Richmond Heights, they have specific regulations pertaining to power supply and panel box location and identification, and we have some issues here that speak to where a panel box can be and can't be. You can only have one electric box and that sort of thing. So St. Louis City, at least one EV installed or EV ready space must be adjacent to an ADA accessible parking space. Our friends in Brentwood, the power supply and panel box requirements similar to Richmond Heights. Although Brentwood requires wiring schematics and load calculations that verify the system's power supply can simultaneously charge all EV spaces at the same level. So it kind of makes sense. Possible next steps, consider EV and EV charging station specific regulations. We could amend the code for EV and EV charging stations, which again, if and when we upgrade to the next next version of NEC, and many of these issues will automatically become part of the city code. Yeah, that next part speaks to that, as does the following part. Allow EV chargers and EV ready systems in all zoning districts. Require one residential, space, be EV ready. 5% of commercial parking spaces and, EV charging, and then 10% commercial spaces be EV ready. So again, these are all just possibilities. There's some boards were reluctant to actually have the requirement on there, maybe encourage, is what some of them thought, but the requirement they thought was a little bit too strong. Adopt Crestwood zoning standards, and they treat EV parking spaces like any other space when reviewing minimum standards, for a property. In some cities, the EV charging stations don't actually count as a parking space. For your minimum, you need 24 spaces or whatever the case is. Well, if you have 5 EV charging spaces there, those don't count towards the 24, which I'm not entirely sure I'm on board with that, but approved the 2017 edition of the NEC. We would actually go a little bit further. I think 20 or 21 is how we would do that. And that's it. So again, fairly specific, and I'm not sure what relevance there is. Well, I'm sure there's some relevance to the HPC and the work that you folks do. The front facing garages, I think, was a bit more pertinent, I suppose, but charging stations are basically inside houses, but we wanted to run them by you anyway, those nonetheless. Be happy to answer any questions, or hopefully not confuse anybody anymore.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation, very informative. Like you said, not the biggest issue maybe for historic preservation, but a little bit does have to do with our buildings. So I think important.
I think when you get into older, housing stock too, we know how it is, like you start working on these houses, and I use the analogy, it's like pulling a thread on an old coat. The thread may be this long or the sleeve may fall off.
Sure.
You know, and working with older housing stock, you know, over many years, I've seen that. I've seen it in my own 102-year-old house. And my concern is that when we get into this, we not inadvertently, you know, say, okay, well, you have an old, modest sized home.
Mhm.
And now you're going to put an addition on it, and you're going to do some age in place improvements. But that's actually over 50% of your home value, or whatever the
Yeah.
threshold is. And oh, by the way, now that you're putting this EV charging infrastructure in, you now need a new electric panel. Because, and that affects our older, smaller homes that seniors and maybe young families want to move into.
And
So-
how would you address the safety issue with the batteries and having the fire basically adhering to the whatever code we would adopt at that point that would address EV charging stations? What would those requirements do to a more historic house is one of the questions.
Yeah, I think that I personally am very much in favor of EV vehicles. I think taking a careful, deep look before anything is enacted to avoid unintended bad consequences for
Sure.
folks, especially people with more modest means or an older housing stock, which is kind of what we deal with here, is extremely important.
Yeah, and that's why having it just in making it EV ready and maybe in the new homes, and then on the major renovations, maybe on there too. Again, how that's defined is yet to be determined, but
And I mean, it might be getting into the weeds a little bit, but I think that differentiating remodel from repair is important.
oh, sure.
Because, you know, people want to age in place, maybe they're not getting along as well as they used to, and they want to put in, you know, a main level bedroom and some other items, and they're looking at, maybe I won't be able to drive in another year or two. Do we really want to have them being forced to incur costs that is not going to serve them?
Yeah, I doubt if that would end up being the case. I don't think that's the intent of the ordinance.
You know, I know it's not the intent, I'm just.
But you gotta be careful. It's a slippery
Concerned
slope.
about actual accidental collateral
Sure.
damage.
Yeah, and those are things to think about as we make whatever changes that we do. Those are things to consider in the ordinance.
So one thing that I think of when doing it. I like the whole idea, like, the notion of new construction needs to be ready, EV ready,
Mhm.
because I mean, that's putting the conduit for the most part and having an appropriate panel. But I think when it comes to renovations, I agree with Carol a lot on, really needs to be looked at what it is. One thing I think that could be very important is the notion of, is it this house just being developed, a developer flipper,
Mhm.
they're not living in it, as opposed to the person who's living there doing the renovation. So, you know, that's often a distinction. The person who's not gonna live in the house for 5 years gets a different deal than other people. That's just, if you've lived there and you're gonna
Yeah.
continue to live there, you get a little different situation. So I think that's one differentiation. If someone's just coming in to flip the house and be done with it, well, how about you fix it all up then, really fix it up, not just give it a good paint job and, you know, do some cockeyed things that often happens that move the line. That's, I think, something we want to keep from happening in general, right? You know, we want
Sure.
that sort of thing to be, there's nothing wrong with coming in and doing a good job. That's great. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
Some people you have to require, so, you know,
Okay.
just something to keep in mind.
I think putting the safety regs for people who want them in place is obviously paramount for everybody's best interest. And that's something else in an existing home that can end up driving price, especially when, you know, it's time to adopt the newer codes.
Mhm.
So the whole idea of, when you look at that and go, okay, well, you're gonna have to put in this charging station. And, you know, then let's take a look at what you're gonna need to do this to make your house safe. That can be a whole nother cost driver. And that's, you know, that's this year. And I know all you have to do is go to the grocery store a few times and see how the prices of everything are going up. So I think we really need to be careful about mandating or requiring, because, you know, from my point of view, residentially in an existing home, if somebody wants to put one in, great. But saying, if you do A, B, or C to your house, you are now required to do this. I don't think that people are really going to be too inviting of the idea of something that's gonna drive up housing costs for something they may not need and may not want.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it sounds like you all have a good critical eye on
Yeah,
that.
and if it's just some of the infrastructure is this there, I don't, that shouldn't be cost prohibitive. Anyway, if it's more of the level one type that, and then if they wanted to go ahead and finish out the infrastructure, if they have an EV charging, if they have an electric vehicle and they want to be able to charge it at home, then there's all kinds of other safety code type things that would be required. And we're working through a couple of those downstairs relative to solar panels. They want to, about having everything in place to make that safe, to make sure the home's safe and stuff. And that's even that's pretty extensive as well. So this would be too, but if somebody wants the EV charging station in their garage or in their detached garage or whatever the case may be, then that's something that they would have to take on and abide by the code that's in there. But yeah, requiring it to do a whole bunch of stuff is hasn't gone over really well with a lot of folks. So
And you know, it's one thing for all new construction, it's
Sure.
another thing in an addition or renovation, just, you know.
yeah, and I think the renovation would be pretty extensive, have to be pretty extensive to have that provision kick in. So
And the only clarification I would want is, well, this is all very good too, but the level of charger is important. So you mentioned level 1 and level 3, but there's a level 2. Also, in level 1, I believe is just a 20-amp service, which most panels can handle 90 upgrades.
sure,
But level 2, that's what most people who have a home EV would probably want. And that's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
So if you're just on a level 1, I don't think there's
it's not, shouldn't, yeah.
If you're-
The ion battery is more of an issue
Yeah.
relative than the charging station
So
itself.
the level that you're requiring is going to be important.
Level 2 is probably the more of the.
That's,
Yeah.
well, they all have the same plugs, but the level 1 you can plug into a regular outlet,
Mhm.
and level 2 are 240 service. So you have to,
Like a dryer
Like a
outlet or
dryer
something like that,
outlet.
yeah.
It's,
Wouldn't-
it's 50.
I assume they all require dedicated circuits. Then.
Yes.
So just
Who
need an
does
extra.
electrical inspections?
You
Do
need
you
a
do
dedicated
the
circuit.
contract with the county or do you?
And we do them ourselves.
Okay.
We do everything ourselves.
Does anybody else have any comments for today? All right,
And return on
So-
December 9th
I
and
think that'd be great.
gather things. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
If we've got any other
And
comments.
if anything comes to you, any questions pop up in the meantime, I'm happy to answer an email or answer a phone call or whatever you need.
Thank
So,
you.
all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. For showing up.
All right. Have a good evening. Yeah. Okay, so next, we have visitor comments. And this is for visitors who are, this is not for the demolition recommendations or the sign permits or anything like that, just other comments. Is there anybody here who has just general comments? Okay. I'm gonna go with there isn't anyone. Okay, so moving on to our new business, our first demolition application is for 135 Oak Tree. And John has done a wonderful job of giving us some research on this.
Yeah, so I looked further into the development of Longview subdivision. And then also owners past the 1950s, and Brian also did some looking into them as well, see if we can find anything that stands out with those owners. But with Longview, what I found out is that it was formed in 1891. There was a real estate investment corporation formed called Longview Realty Company with investors investing $50,000 into it. And then in 1892, they purchased the land that became Longview subdivision. And you can see it on, this is an 1893 atlas. So this is Glendale Road, Edgar Road, Elm kind of jogs through here. So it's that plot. So in between basically Elm and Edgar Road. So it was laid out on the 1893 atlas of St. Louis County. And a couple of clearer pictures. This is from the 1909 plat book, where it has a clearer picture of where Longview lies. And then a zoom in of it, of Longview in 1909 showed that there were 8 houses. Yeah, the next one. There you go. Thanks. So there were 8 houses in Longview subdivision at when that 1909 plat book was marked. I circled them, and then 135, which there were street name changes too. So Queen Street became Oak Tree Drive in the 1950s, as well as Bellum changed to Colebrook. Arthur became the south part of Selma. And Demler, there to the right, was cut off north of Oak Tree Drive. So 135 Oak Tree was actually, so it's that little square, and then it's those 7 lots that comprise the total property, lots 1 through 7 in block 9 of Longview subdivision. Yeah. Okay, go to the next one. So then I went to the St. Louis County real estate page, and on their map section, you can tell it to highlight certain addresses. So if you can scroll down a little bit, I'm sorry, yeah, there you go. So these are the ones in blue are 6 houses still in existence on that from that 1909 map. So there's still 6 houses around. The one up here at 8, Glenview is gone, or Glendale, and then that one on the corner, 907, Edgar Road, actually. There was a house there that's no longer there. But the rest of these are still in existence. The oldest one, I think, scroll up But these are the dates from St. Louis County website. You can take it for what it's worth because they're, often incorrect, but I think they're generally okay here. The oldest one is on St. George Place, 1894. 135 Oak Tree was the first house built on Queen Street, as it was called. And if you scroll up, the next view I did, I'm sorry, down, it's like you should be my directions wrong. So now, this area was annexed into Webster Groves in 1936. And so I did a plat of houses that are still in existence, built before annexation in 1936. So you can see it's starting to fill in a little bit. So these are houses, I think actually there weren't really any houses built between 1931 and 1936. So these are all houses built, between 1909 and the early 1930s. And you can see that on Oak Tree, 135 was one. So I think these houses were built in the 1920s. So when I went and looked at the 1920 census, there was only, I think there were 3 families living on what they called Queen Street they didn't have street addresses then, street numbers. But there were 3 that I found that had Queen Street as their address on the 1920 census. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So this is from the 1936, January 3rd, 1936 Western News Times. So you can see the city limits here. And then if you scroll here, you can see this weird annexation line. It basically followed what I learned is that essentially the city had its own sewer district that it was creating. And so they were incorporating areas into that from that sewer district. And they eventually moved down Watson Road in 1940. Over here was annexed in 1944. So there was another weird line in 1940 that kind of went up like this, and then this little area was annexed in 1944. And it was voted on and passed something like 554 to 36 votes. So it was overwhelmingly supported by the people of Webster Groves. And so you can see now, these are houses built that are still around that were built by 1950. So you can see post-war is starting to fill in a lot more. And then the next slide is houses still around built by 1969. So it was pretty much a complete subdivision by the late 1960s. And really the ones that are not marked, they're houses built in the 70s or 80s, torn down, built new houses in the 90s. All right, so that next one, that needs to really take a close look at it. So I found trying to trace the ownership of the property, and the first property owner I found that I could really find something on was this Gaines Harrison, who purchased lots 4 through 7 on Block 9, along with other properties in Longview. He purchased those in 1900, and they took out a $200 loan through deed of trust on these in 1902, and then defaulted on that loan. And there was actually a trustee sale on all this property that was scheduled for February 6, 1904. So he had defaulted on the loan. He and another woman has several of these in the area that I guess they were buying properties and taking out loans and not paying them back. So what's the question though is it is possible that he actually, because I have seen this before, that people would buy a property and build a house on it using that for collateral and then not paying the loan back. So it is possible that he did that, but there's no evidence that that's the case. The next owner that I think are the more significant are Ernest and Laura Pitkin, who just before this trustee sale in 1904, they purchased it at the end of January 1904. They purchased lots 4 through 7. And it seems that I'm guessing they're the ones who built and first lived in the house. They were recently married, I found, in 1903. In 1906, he bought lots 1 through 3, so the adjacent lots, and that completed the property description that the current address is based on. Lots 1 through 7, block 9 of Longview subdivision. And then in 1908, Pipkin bought property at 48 East Big Bend Road, where the Schnucks is now, and there was a house there. Ironically enough, they tore that down to build a new one, and that's where they lived until Ernest died in 1958. So what I found with them is Pipkin was a prominent property holder in Webster Groves. He owned a lot of land, other properties in Longview and then other areas of Webster Groves. But his occupation on the census and on his death certificate was as a tobacco wrapper. He worked for a tobacco company in downtown St. Louis. And it looks like they had owned the property until 1926. And that's where the next owners, Henry and Lillian Bootke, it's a little strange on this one because they were on the 1920 census, living in the house. But the deeds I found showed that they may have actually been leasing it, and then when they moved in 1926, sold it to the next owner. So it's a little confusing, but they were there from at least 1919 or definitely 1920, possibly 1919 to 1926. I found other addresses on them in the same area. Henry Bootke was a German immigrant, and he was living on Frisco Avenue, kind of near where the Pipkins lived in that part of Webster Groves. And then in 1918, on his draft card for World War I, his address was Glendale and Gore Avenue. So again, kind of nearby. I found his citizenship papers, which were interesting. He had to swear allegiance to the United States and not swear allegiance to Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany. And then the next owners I found, they had sold, and again, it was kind of a strange thing because there was a deed of Pipkin selling to, on the same day, selling to Henry and Lillian Bootke, and then Henry and Lillian Bootke selling to this August and Anna Sieber, who also were German immigrants. But
Tobacco people.
yeah. And they lived in it for the longest time that I could find, in through their children. They owned the property from 1926 to 1956. And Anna, this was her second marriage. She had 5 daughters in a previous marriage. And on the 1950 census, she was living with a daughter and her daughter's husband. And then she died in 1954, and another daughter, Margaret Spruill, I assume managing the estate, sold the house to this Wilma Groth in September of 1956. And so searching through newspaper archives, this Wilma Groth was another prominent real estate developer in Webster Groves area, with a man who bought it from her, or she transferred it through a quitclaim deed to this Edgar Rucker in 1957. And by this time, it was now known as Oak Tree Drive. And he is the one who, so if the property description, the official property description is lot 1 of re-subdivision of lots 1 through 7. So they took what the properties of 139 Oak Tree, 135 Oak Tree, and then on the corner of Oak Tree and Colebrook, 917, are lots 1, 2, and 3 of this new little, resub that this Edgar Rucker created in 1958. And then, there is a little bit of a gap until 1968, but I basically was able to find, the Widget family owned it for a number of years, from the late 60s, and then their daughter had owned it, and, after 1979, and, and then she had sold it to an Ernest Hayter in 87, who then sold it to the current owners, Frontenac Home LLC. So that's kind of a brief run through of what I was able to find, a little more detail on the history of the house. And Brian, you looked up some of these people as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, Alexander, Seaver, I mean, and the families, I didn't find anything super historically interesting. I mean, he was a veteran of the Spanish American War, it was pretty cool. He was a German immigrant. The only newspaper article I found that wasn't related to Veterans Affairs was there was 2 lost German boys in downtown St. Louis. He was one of them.
Oh.
And they just said, well, my mom is blah, 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 my dad is blah, blah, and then they'll find their parents. But it was him and his brother were lost downtown on the day they immigrated to St. Louis. So, but
Yeah, that's
just interesting
an anecdote.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there wasn't anything specific.
Yeah, the other thing, it just seemed that this Longview subdivision was kind of an exercise in real estate speculation back then, and it really didn't really kick off being developed until it was annexed. And I have a feeling that it was developed with the thought that it would eventually be annexed by, Webster Groves. So that would seem to be the end goal. Just looking at the property exchanges in the area, it was, even though it was undeveloped, you can just find hundreds of deeds of people buying lots, selling lots, and trading lots through quitclaim deeds, and then the actual development of housing. And you look at most of the houses were built, in post-war, post-World War II, and this 135 Queen Street, Oak Tree Drive and the other 5 that are in that area are the last remnants of it being a rural area.
All right, thank you very much for that summary of all of that wonderful information. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments or on that? Any,
It seems like, there's a lot of really interesting, good research as far as anything that would be germane to our criterion that's laid out by ordinance to designate it historically. I'm not seeing anything that would fulfill any of those criteria.
yeah,
I was thinking about that and the history of the subdivision itself. I mean, as an example, from going from this farmland to the land speculators and then developing these few properties, I found really interesting. And there's only like 6 of them left from that time. They're all turn of the century homes. And it, despite, being there, changing so many times, all these weird additions, it still is like a turn of the century kind of cottage feel home that I think represents the time. Well, and there wasn't very many buildings at the time. I think it was all like, well, maybe this will be something. I mean, Webster was on fire building, turn of the century. But over there's not much. I just think it's interesting that these people went over there and said, well, we're gonna try something here. Didn't work.
It's similar to,
But there's still these little dots of houses that were maybe this is gonna. That's all it's on.
it's, if you could scroll down to one of the,
yeah, I thought that 6 of the 8 were there.
this, yeah.
Was it
Next
was
one.
interesting?
Yeah.
That's
On this slide, it's similar to this J.E. Smith's subdivision. This is Central Avenue right here. The Hawken House is right here. I have friends that live on Central. I was looking into their house, and it's a similar story to this Longview. And this area also was annexed. Actually, kind of that weird annexation line kind of cut around that part of Central Avenue for some reason. But yeah, and then so these areas here they have a similar story, developed in the 1890s, And I think with an eye towards Webster Groves eventually, moving down that way, it seemed obvious to people.
It's like they're gravitating toward the sewer system going
That's
sooner or later. it will
right,
come.
exactly, yeah,
Right. Edge of town.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that seemed to me, the same thing struck me. It was the beginning of that area.
Mm.
Those 6 homes are the ones that are left from the beginning, in particular, since there was kind of a dead time, like they tried, 6 of them were built or 8 were built and not many. were
Well, yeah, it
allowed
was
to-
interrupted by the depression and the war, and so, yeah.
But is that enough? I guess would be the question. And I looked at those other homes to see did they all look just the same? That would be fascinating, but they don't at all. But so not even close. There's 2 of them that look very similar. It might be the same, but otherwise they're not even remotely similar. So I just couldn't
Just.
put it all the way to being historic. Designating it to be something feels a little bit of a stretch for me.
Yeah, me as well. I mean, it's really interesting. And sort of the mindset, what seems to be the mindset of the speculation of trying to, get in the door of Webster Grove.
Yeah.
I, as far as actually, fulfilling those criterion for a historic designation, I think it would be a pretty big stretch.
Yeah. I actually was thinking, so say the people who own the house came to us and said they wanted to do something like that. I'd probably feel a little more like, okay, well, it's a little bit of a history, but putting it on someone just doesn't. Yeah, doesn't do it. That any easy. Okay.
Do I recall that the house failed inspection and it's been pretty?
It didn't have the inspection.
Oh, it
actually,
did
last
have an
time.
inspection.
It did.
But we've got it now, though. I saw it I don't think it was in the paperwork the last time, but I think it's here now.
Yes, but it did fail the inspection. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't have the paperwork, but I did, because I was looking for that specifically, and it did fail, but it didn't look like big fail, it was
No.
minor fail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a little.
Yeah.
just
It does
as,
look livable. It's very cute, isn't it? In fact.
yeah, it needed some tweaks. It wasn't anything.
Needed tweaks.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't anything that failed the inspection that was not fairly readily correctable.
Yeah.
Or uncommon here in our Ulster houses. Okay, all right, anybody else have any comments? Okay, do we have a motion for 135 Oak Tree Drive? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the demolition request for 135 Oak Tree Drive.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the demolition request for 135 Oak Tree has been approved. Oh, I never asked if anyone wanted to make any comments, but probably not now. Is there anybody, did you? Thank you. All right, we will move on to the next one then, and that is 468 Hawthorns.
Yeah, that one was much easier. It was, I did find in the, National Register, application, that the garage is a non-contributing, was a non-contributing factor, to the address. And, the house was built in 1936. The permit included a detached garage. I know the report, I think the staff report said that the current one was built in 1950. I didn't bother to go through all the permits in 1950 to see if that's the case, but, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 1950s garage that isn't original to the house. And there you have it.
It's not salvageable.
And right, I mean, it's kind of bad shape. So any comments on this one? And since, are there any visitors here who have anything to say?
Burned out garage.
Thank you.
Pretty nice.
Joe, who is our building commissioner, went out and deemed it unsafe, so.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. All right, do we have a motion for 468 Hawthorne?
I'll make a motion to approve the demolition request for 468 Hawthorne.
Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the demolition, application for 468 Hawthorne is approved. Thank you very much.
People for every you do for a city.
Our next one is 12 North Iowa.
So this house, the St. Louis County real estate page said it was built in 1890, but that's not correct. It was built around 1904. It had two long-term owners. The initial owners, owner Nancy Gleason, owned it from 1900 and through her children to 1944, and then Maurice and Viola Hendricks owned it from 1944 until he passed away in 1997. And there was an uncertain link from 97 to 2015 when the current owners bought it, that it looked like the owner may have been related to the Hendricks through marriage. But I couldn't verify that. The original address was 12 Hull Avenue and that wasn't changed until around 1944. And then they changed it to North Iola Avenue. You can, if you want to flip up to the map, I can show you.
I'm so fine.
So, well, this actually goes back to that, and if you could rotate that. So how I know it wasn't built in 1890, so this Benjamin F. Shields owned Shields Addition, which was the subdivision. He's the one who formed it in the 1890s. And here we've got block 3, lot 7, and all of these are just undeveloped lots that he had in 1898. And so if you go up to the next. And so here's Hull Avenue, Harper is Iola, so all of this changed street names. And so this Nancy Gleason, she initially bought the upper half of lot 7, and then a couple of years later bought the lower half, and then a few years after that bought lot 8. So the original property was lot 7 and 8 on Hull, and then North Iola Avenue.
So you have her name as Nancy Shields and then Gleason. Is that the same?
Oh, I'm
person?
sorry, it might be, there could be a typo. It's Nancy Gleason is the name.
Is the
Benjamin
person.
Shields is the,
Oh,
yeah, I have Nancy, that's a typo. Nancy Shields, it should be Gleason. Yeah. Yeah, so she had passed away, and I think, 1930, and then her daughter lived in it until 1944. Actually, her daughter moved up the street to number 25, North Iola, and had sold it to this Maurice and Viola Hendricks. And then again, they, owned it for over 50 years.
Okay.
it appears to be occupied right now. I mean, I walked by it the other day, just see what it looked like. I guess it's a rental property.
Yeah, it was purchased in 2015 by the current owners, who I think they're renting it out at the development company.
Does anybody have any questions or anything else? Otherwise,
Somebody they raise their hand on the online. Austin Dunn.
Austin, oh. That must be who's here.
I don't know if that was the time for them or not.
Okay. Austin, can you hear us? Can you speak or are they move? I guess you have to move them to, do you move them or how do you do this? allowed to talk. Austin.
Well, Austin, could you unmute yourself? Okay, there we go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good evening. Yes, my name's Austin Dunn with Pentrex Development. So we had been renting that home out, and they are no longer renting. The home looked like it was trying to be rehabbed at one point in time before we purchased the property. It's a really small home, and the basement foundation is in pretty poor condition. The renter was actually moving out due to water. Some of the issues were water related. And upon further inspection of it, it was in pretty bad shape. The house is very small, so it's chopped up, not very conducive to modern living standards. And it is a pretty small house on a decent sized lot over there. And we have developed several properties in that area as well.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Austin? Okay. All right. That being said, I don't really see that we're finding anything that.
Yeah, the concrete block foundation looks like it's got some pretty extensive problems and some evidence of some severe water leakage. Yeah, it's pretty rough shape.
Okay. Nothing else. Do we have a motion for 12 North Iola?
I move we approve the demolition of 12 North Iowa Drive.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the demolition application for 12 North Iola is. Thank you very much. Okay, now we will move on to 119 Jersey.
This one I only was able to get to today. But it is actually kind of an interesting history to the property. So the again, the St. Louis County website has 1903. I didn't confirm that, but it seems at least by then, if not possibly earlier, when that was built. But what's interesting is that this house never had, I could never find when it was assigned 119 Jersey Avenue. Even doing real estate ad searches in the modern St. Louis Post-Dispatch, it never comes up. It's the last census that's available is 1950, and 119 Jersey Avenue doesn't appear on the census. It doesn't appear anywhere in the census. What I did find is that this was an outbuilding for 608 Sunnyside. So if you could scroll around. So just roughly here, and this Jay Steppen, that's Josephine and her husband Florian. They were Austrian immigrants who married in 1890. They purchased this tract from Edward Joy in 1897. That's their house at 608 Sunnyside, which really is more over there. But and again, with St. Louis County real estate page, your built dates, they have that their house was built in 1920, but it was built around 1897, 1898. I found through deeds. Actually, when they purchased the property, they paid over $2,700, which is a pretty high price, and usually indicates that there was a house already there when they purchased it. But they took out a loan on it in 1898, which could have been for building the house. It also could have been for building what's now 119 Jersey Avenue. Edward Joy was developing this old orchard park in the 1890s, and these people had bought property from him instead of it being included in his subdivision. 117 Jersey is right around there, and then 101 is there on those properties. What was fascinating or interesting about this property is that in Florian Steppen, was a carpenter or construction worker by trade. And apparently in 1901, there was a drought in the area and he was digging a well in his backyard and uncovered a natural, mineral spring. And, had the water tested and apparently he marketed it as, its medicinal, qualities and, entered it, a sample in the 1904 World's Fair. And it won the gold medal for best mineral springs in the world. And he ran the Old Orchard Mineral Spring Company out of, well, the business address was downtown St. Louis. But he ran the business until he passed away in 1947. And so this 119 Jersey, I talked to, what rang a bell with this, I had talked about this area with Anne McReynolds. I don't know if you guys know Anne McReynolds, local historian, yeah. And she had written an article for Neighbors of Webster Groves a couple of years ago about this Old Orchard Mineral Springs. And she had heard that, that structure was their barn, their stable, which seems likely, even if the house was built in the 1890s, they needed a place for their horses. If you want to scroll up again. So this is a deed for when they purchased the property in 1897. I started just copying sections of the deeds instead of including the entire things. And if you go to the next one, these are, if you rotate it again. So these are articles from the St. Louis County Watchman about this mineral spring miracle found in Old Orchard in 1901, and then there's an article in 1904, and then the 1906 when they won the medal. But here's the next one is the 1917 Sanborn insurance map. And so it has, that's 119 Jersey Avenue, and that's 608 Sunnyside. So it's an outbuilding for it. The Steppens also purchased this house and built that house in 1915. And then they eventually, in 1918, 130 Summit Avenue, which is here, they built as a store to sell the mineral. It was a general store, but also they sold their mineral water out of that as well.
Is there still a well?
Yes.
Apparently it's capped, so, yeah.
I'm surprised somebody's not selling that.
The wife lived to 100.
107, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was the Fountain of Youth,
Right.
that's where it was.
So I did talk to, I talked to the former owners, so the people who sold it to the current owners. They owned 101 Jersey, 117 Jersey, and 119 Jersey as well. I was trying to find out, when did this become a single family house? And they weren't certain, but they had purchased it in the 1980s. They purchased 117 and 119 from an organization that used those buildings as sort of like a halfway house for troubled youth, And but she said, yeah, mail was delivered there, and but she wasn't sure when it could have just become a single family residence when they bought it, because she said that they had been operating that facility, which I didn't have a chance to look more into that, but she said they've been operating that for many years when they bought the place in the 1980s. And she had mentioned that the spring, which is in that sort of area where the 119 Jersey is, that it was at some point capped in the 1950s or 1960s. And if you go up. So this is about Josephine Florian, their obituary, and she lived to 107. He, interestingly enough, was they're both born in Austria, and he was also a cavalry officer in the Austrian army. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Go to the next one, I think, so we rotate that. So this is even the 1950 insurance map, and it's still showing You know, there's 117, 101 is labeled there. There's still no 119 Jersey Avenue. It's still an outbuilding. It seems for that 608 Sunnyside, and here's 130 is still labeled as a store, not a dwelling on Summit Avenue.
Are those buildings, other than the outbuilding, still in existence?
Yeah, in fact, the current owners of, the people who sold it to the current owners still own this, and they're actually getting ready to sell it to, I think they said that even their inspection was today. That there's 117 is still a house, and 101 is still there as well. And there are houses on the other side of Jersey Avenue as well.
Is the store building still there?
There is a house there. I don't know, again, yeah, again, the St. Louis County website says that 130 Summit Avenue was built in 1940, but I have the building permit. Yeah, it could have been torn down.
I read that part of the reason it was turned into a store was because the trolley ran down Summit.
Right.
And there was a trolley stop right there.
Yeah, and so, right, so they built the store in 1918. And that's probably why, yeah, because actually Summit Avenue was interesting. When you see property descriptions in the tax records, they don't say that houses fronted Summit Avenue. They say they fronted the electric railway.
Oh.
So that's 119 New Jersey. Yeah, like I said, I don't know when it really became a house, but yeah.
But someone's gonna.
You did all that today, you said?
Okay.
That was all today?
Yeah.
You said you just got to this.
It's good, it's done.
Right.
Well, I emailed Ann last night because I dawned on me that I know she mentioned something about this one time when she was talking to me. And she said, yeah, that, and so I started doing searches on the, I had Steppen as the name from the 1909 map, and it's amazing how easy it is to find these deeds and stuff like this now, so.
Well, we greatly appreciate it.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting, I think, that it was an outbuilding and now it's a house, but
I drove it there one time
Unfortunately.
looking to see if I could pick, because I thought the building was still there. I couldn't find it. They're just like, looks like houses.
Yeah, well, it's way off the street.
I gotta
Yeah,
look again.
yeah, it is.
yeah,
It's,
it's in the back.
yeah, it almost looks like it's in the backyard of 117.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that part's kind of a weird
Right.
location,
yeah.
but
And well, the fact that it was an outbuilding explains the strange floor
Yeah,
plan.
very weird looking.
Yeah, very, yeah.
Right.
So it's a barn from.
It's probably a barn as it was, used, for the business, or certainly for the house at 608, since that was built in the 1890s, or, then they had to have a stable or something, that's probably what that was. So it could, like I said, it could have even been built before 1903. It could have been built when they built the house in the 1890s.
okay. Anything else, anybody? Do we have anyone here for 119 Jersey?
That would be us.
Yeah. Oh, Tracy Collins is up there. And you guys? Okay,
We're the owners from
Sharon?
1981
Okay, I talked to Sharon today on the phone.
to last year.
Okay,
And the answer to the question when it become a house was 1998. We did extensive renovation, encapsulated the original structure, and built a two-car garage with a room above it.
oh, okay, that was an addition.
Garage.
A large room
With a bath.
And the stairs.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking building. It's a
Yeah.
really nice, it's very
Yeah.
pleasant looking.
Yeah, and actually, that was one thing I thought, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't, sometimes you look at it and you can tell, wow, somebody made it. It doesn't, it looks like a nice house.
Yeah, it's been occupied since, anyway.
Since we bought it.
As a just a house.
And I live right across the street. I'm 608.
Oh, you are?
Sunnyside.
Oh, okay.
I'm 609, not 608.
So I have a question. The demolition permit, is it for the complete structure or is it for partial stuff?
Or the, well,
It's for
whatever
the-
it is that you want to demolish, go ahead.
Yeah, it's for the complete structure.
Yeah, okay. So I understood to be complete, but yeah, typically when they come here, they are for the whole
Okay.
structure.
Yeah,
That's the addition.
We just aren't familiar with the process.
Yeah, this is a picture of the house.
Maybe they're gonna take
Is that
that.
the addition, this part here?
Yes.
Is that the original
I
structure?
think the application said that they at first attempted to come up with a
side.
use for the existing structure. They really
Yes, yes. That's what they were planning on. And so it was kind of a
Yes.
surprise, and I thought, well, that makes sense. I mean, they probably talked to a lot of architects and whatever to try to figure it out. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, my name is Tracy. I'm the architect on the project and we really tried to save it. We tried multiple options. The homeowners really didn't want to tear it down. And then we looked at trying to preserve half of the building and see if we could make that work. And the ceiling height is pretty low in the garage where they wanted to have their kitchen space. So we even looked into raising the home to try to preserve it. But the way that things were kind of set up and the way that the zoning code works with the existing building being so far in the back of the lot, we would have to kind of break up the new and the old to make it fit the zoning code and fit within the setback. So it just, we tried, we tried really hard to save it, and the owners, knew that it was going to be more expensive to tear it down and rebuild, but that's just kind of what the conclusion that we all came to, both the homeowners, myself, and the contractor. And learning what I've heard tonight makes a lot of sense, knowing that it could have been an outbuilding and where it's placed on the lot. I don't think the survey was included in my submittal. I didn't see it posted online, but there are significant easements running through the property as well that also inhibit opportunities for additions off of the current location. So we are tonight proposing to demolish the structure and construct a new home. The new home will be pushed up further towards the street, so we feel like it'll be more in keeping with the existing neighborhood and the massing of the existing homes instead of being pushed so far back.
Tracy, a question, in order to comply with the zoning code and keep the house, would the lot need to be subdivided? Did I understand that right, or could you fill me in?
No subdividing of the lot would be needed, but if we tear down half of it, because it's pretty much the existing half and then the newer addition, it's almost about that 50% mark. So then it triggered new zoning criteria that, we'd have to not only get a variance to build within the setback, but the zoning department was kind of working with us to not make that step between new and old be as significant. But yeah, there's no subdivision needed of the lot.
Yeah, it just, I'm just thinking of ways to, since it looks like it passed inspection and everything, to just maintain that asset and build the new house. That's where my mind went. Because, if it could be, I don't know, legal to use it as a rental property or something that, that would maintain the existing viable structure and then build the new house. That's where my brain went. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was there any consideration given to that?
Well, the buildable area of the lot is like a pie shaped area where we're meeting all of our setbacks and are within bounds of the easements kind of running across the whole lot. So to maintain that structure and build a new one, I don't think they would be able to fit on a lot within the buildable area. To get a new house right in front of it would be a little bit challenging. Yeah, because the new home that we have proposed is kind of overlapping part of the existing home footprint.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
I was in trouble.
Yeah.
No thinking. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, it really does sound like, everybody involved really went the extra mile to try to figure out how to use this or save that. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so it's great. Well, thank you very much, Tracy. Does anyone have any comment or questions or anything for Tracy or our guests? Okay. That being the case, do we have a motion for 119 Jersey?
Motion to approve the demolition request
Yes.
for 119 Jersey Avenue.
Second? Anyone?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the demolition application for 119 Jersey has been approved. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
This you have to step.
Thanks, Tracy.
I will.
Okay.
All your businesses.
Okay, our next one is a sign permit application for 45 West Walkway. This is for the church, right? A church. Does anybody have any comments? Just,
Question as to why we're approving sign permits?
I don't know.
It's a part of,
This is part of the
code, yeah.
It's
So
a historic
unfortunately, when it's in a historic district, if it's a landmark,
Uh-huh.
it has to go through ARB and Historic Preservation Commission
Okay.
based on the capital is written, so sorry about that.
No, I was curious.
There aren't any historic buildings that get new signs.
And you'll just get up a big old,
Don't even get me.
I'll actually be getting some more on your next session for that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know.
More or less, we're just trying to ensure that it meets the Historic Preservation Commission's recommendations, given that it is in a historic area. I believe this building is particularly as a land. So we want to know whether or not you approve essentially the design of the sign. But this.
All right.
Oh, sorry, I get my comments. Both 45 West Lockwood did get approval from the ARB, in their initial application for the sign. And it meets our zoning regulations as well.
is it gonna be electronic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But it needs the foot candle, we allow 0.5 foot candle, horizontal foot candle, for. Yeah, remember the particular, but it meets our zoning.
When I look at it, at the physical appearance of the sign, I think it looks fine. However, I mean, I know this probably isn't in our purview. It's just, because it is in an historic district. I think it's helpful if they moderate the brightness and the contrast and the rapidity at which the message changes. As I was driving down Blackwood last Saturday, I was noticing, all the beautiful trees and the homes and everything, and then the signs, these LED signs just kind of flash and draw your eye away from the beautiful streetscape. And I think they become even more intrusive when they're very bright, when there's a lot of contrast, and when the message changes really rapidly. So, if there can be some sort of recommendation to moderate that, I think that would help make it blend into the historic landscape, because they can be very distracting.
Or is that something the ARB would
Yeah.
recommend?
So they already approved.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it actually anything we can, I'm not sure if it's anything,
So-
anything about, because if there's a code.
For the
said
foot
there is.
candles, yeah. And I
There's
believe this
certain
one,
candles, so
this one's just.
probably a request.
I was gonna say a recommendation,
A
that's why I
recommendation.
use that term rather than a requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that this one, I don't put it in here, I do not believe that the sign is gonna be changing, it's just going to be illuminated. There's a portion of it will be illuminated.
Yeah.
And it meets, the foot candle, so it shouldn't be too bright in there.
And there's no
Well, we could
residential
find-
close by, so it wouldn't be
Yes.
intruding.
Yeah, my name's David. I'm here to represent and answer any questions. I'm working with the church, as the architect. And there's some of the comments and questions coming around. We did confirm at our meeting yesterday with the vendor that it has because we were concerned about the same thing, for the same reason. It does have a dimming aspect to it. So it's just like your phone gets brighter in sunlight and dimmer at, dark night. It'll do the same thing. So we can avoid, that glare and the sort of shouting that the sign does at night. So it will have that dimming quality to it.
What about during the day?
Well, during the day, it will be bright enough, like again, as your phone, bright enough that you can sort of battle with the sun and it'll be visible. Fortunately, the problem isn't so bad with regard to brightness in the day as it is in the evening.
So is this, do you know, is this something where they'll just have a particular message and it changes here and there?
Yeah,
Not flashing at you kind of thing?
yeah, it's they already have a sign there right now.
Yeah.
They're going to basically out the field in with the new, this is a nice stone. This matches and coordinates with the church proper. Got a little gable type top on one end. It's copper that's going to patina over time and kind of have a aged and a nice kind of look. But the sign proper, it's going to do sort of the same thing. It will advertise, well, it's not the right term, but it will advertise upcoming banquets or celebrations or service times, charity events, things like that. Things that, if anything, you wanted to sit there for a while so people can, read it and say, oh yeah, I want to go, instead of whoops, well, that's gone. So, unlike like a circus type light or a, Crazy Eddie's, stereo store, this is the exact opposite of that. It's sedate, it's changeable, the old days with the letters and stuff and no graphics. But in this day and age, your letters can change because of what you type in the building. And your graphics, you can show, in this case, a Christian church, you might have a Christian cross that, that's still what's going on. But they are planning to really make the kind of change, like, hey, here's our chance to, be obnoxious. So,
Yeah, as more churches get these, and not just churches, schools too. They are the source of light pollution in the city. And I don't know if there's an ordinance in the city that does regulate the
There
brightness.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, okay. That's probably where all this
it's
falls.
probably put candles at the property line, is it not? Yes,
Yeah.
Horizontal.
yeah. So yes, there is. And, yeah, I just, and I appreciate too that the church is kind of, looking to stay economically viable, as a lot of churches are, by, using it more, making it available for more of an event-based type thing. I think that's very innovative and a great way to keep the building in service and in use and have the income stream to maintain it. So that's all really good. And I think the actual physical design of the sign is quite nice. And I do appreciate that you guys have been mindful of things like the brightness of it to not detract from the historic.
Yeah, I think that's that same sign you were talking about, one of the TVs.
Yeah, and it's a lot.
Right.
And you sit at the stop sign going, geez, don't do
No,
Yeah.
that's another example. So if there is an ordinance, and is that one followed it? Because that is really bright. We're all talking about the same.
So.
What sign are we, let me sure, what sign are we talking about?
I don't remember which one. I'm not actually literally in Webster. But I do remember passing by it. I think it's up east of here.
Rockwood.
I mean, it does it work,
Uh,
was it,
Bummer.
does it work on a?
Oh,
complaint
that's
basis
my
or-
church,
oh,
that's the manual, that's the one we
would
just
be-
did, yes, I know it's horrible.
Yeah, it would work on a complaint basis, because as far as zoning goes, I can approve the sign as long as it meets like the lit candles. But if someone begins to display something that isn't allowed per our zoning code, we wouldn't necessarily know, especially for signs that have the ability to change. So that will work on a complaint basis, and we will get code out there.
Yeah, because, I know residentially it works on the complaint. So this-
And it would too for commercial as well, because it presents a hazard if it's not following our zoning regulations.
But to be fair, that sign is about 2 weeks old, a week and a half old, and I know the people who are trying to get it right, they don't want to have it be intrusive, but it's brand new and they're still learning the ropes, so yes, it's large, and it wasn't as large as I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it's the other way around.
It's bigger than you thought and brighter than you thought.
Yeah, but the brightness, again,
It's the brightness.
these foot candles, they all have controls. They can all be put down, the speed of the ad. Copy on the sign can change.
Yeah.
All kinds of, they can have it just be static.
Yeah, that would be good if they can figure that out there, because sounds like more than just me has noticed that
Yes, give them a little time to figure out how it's supposed to work.
right. Good information, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other comments, questions, anything else on the sign permit for 45 West Lockwood? If not, okay, can we have a motion then for 45 West Lockwood?
Approve the sign permit for 45 West Lock.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the sign permit application has been approved for 45 West Lockwood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. They'll be happy to hear.
Thank you. All right, so we have one more, 220 West Lockwood. Also has a sign.
This one is also illuminated, just not flashing. They also meet the regulations of, the zoning requirement for foot candles. And their application was recently approved by the ARB as well.
And this is the bank.
So what do we feel to decide about this?
And they put Central Bank up there on.
What
It's a sign
do we- Do we, how do we decide that? Like, what is-
So if it meets the regulations, that's what I'll say. More or less what you guys are determining is whether or not you feel that it meets historic preservation conditions, like the design of it meets.
My opinion.
Aligns with the.
So the,
You know, it's-
Where is this?
And Lockwood.
Central.
kind of like where the first watch used to be. You know, where
Down the
that's-
street from.
It's next to the park more.
Parkmore.
Yeah, next to
Yeah.
the Parkmore now.
So this isn't an old building, but we are putting it because it's an historic.
It's a historic district, yes.
Right.
Which,
I apologize about that. It's again, some regulation.
yeah, that's fine. They could make it obnoxious and I would say it doesn't fit. This is just. Fine.
But if it fits with the sign code. I don't know if there's anything to talk about.
Right, because it's especially the age of the building.
Yeah,
It makes it a
exactly.
little bit different. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not obnoxious like you said, or so to me. I don't know. Yes, that's like.
So what are we saying about the age of the building?
Well, I mean, say they were gonna slap this on the church or something. it might
Okay.
feel like
Yeah, but this is a
doesn't
newer
fit,
building.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
See, here,
It's more fitting.
it goes, the character of the building.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, so, something like that. Okay. Does anybody have any comments on the central bank sign? Alrighty, and we have a motion for 220 West Lockwood sign application.
Motion to approve the sign permit at 220. What?
West Lockwood,
220 West Lockwood.
second? Okay, all those in favor of 220 West Lockwood? Aye, and opposed? All right, the sign permit application for 220 West Lockwood is approved. All right, so that is it. And I didn't ask if there was any comment again, but I'm gonna guess at that time.
My comment is, thank you very much for your consideration and for your approval. We're looking forward to being part of the neighborhood.
Great, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Had to wait through quite a meeting.
Quite interesting. I actually like all the maps and everything too. It's a lot of fun. I'll be back next month, maybe.
Okay, so we've already had quite a long meeting, so unless there's anything that someone has to bring up on our updates or anything like that, they will wish on.
The only thing I will say is, the issue with the Hawken House is now going to be coming before the city council. And I don't know if they've already, Karen could probably tell us what's happening, because I've been kind of out of town for the last couple months. So I haven't been keeping up with what's going on with that.
Oh, okay.
Talking about the seat on the liaison.
No, Hawken House needs extensive renovations. They don't have the funds for it, but the city actually owns the house.
So they
So they were going to approach the city about what kind of agreement they we can come to, yeah.
Karen, do you have anything for us on that?
Is she muted?
No, it looks like her
she's-
microphone's on.
All right.
That's all. I know nothing.
I don't know.
I don't know to be dangerous.
Other than they need some help, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know, you'd ask that, but I have no idea, but.
yeah. I don't know.
Just a comment, as we're going through and doing changes to our code. If you feel that signs is not something that the HBC should be reviewing, then we are more than, we can make the changes. Because at the moment, we are currently looking at our code and seeing where changes can be made, what's necessary. So that we don't have to have as much of a backlog in terms of applications. So if you feel that signs is not something that the HPC should be reviewing, then I will most definitely pass that on along to John Wagner.
As far as my point of view, like Angela was talking about, if somebody were trying to take that central bank sign and slap it on the side of a historic church, I think we would want to have input on moderating that. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't mind looking at the signs. I think, because I mean, do we really want to be driving down the street and see some gosh awful something on the side of a historic building and go, dang, I wish we could have reviewed that.
I just feel like all the ones in the churches are. Well, the ones, I mean, the last time I checked, it's a long time ago, but the city's official position with churches and schools, because of RLUIPA, the religious lane, whatever that thing is, was that they can't touch it. You know, they can only make sure that they fit the, you know, the code stuff with regard to electric and line of sight and what do they call it, the sight triangle and that kind of thing. That's the only thing they can regulate. They can't regulate content.
Well, it's not so much, it's not content, it's the brightness, the contrast and the, you know, Las Vegas Times Square style. I just not.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I haven't seen anybody that's flash.
Well, it gets to be, it's,
Yeah.
they glow and they go pretty rapidly. I mean, sometimes it's even more rapidly than you can read. And I think that's the kind of thing that, once again, you mentioned they can be moderated via control, but I don't know if it's not anything the city can regulate, but it can be
You
distracting.
can write a code violation for it because having flash signs is against our code. So if you're noticing those as you're out and about, you can go ahead and report that. And I'll pass it along to our code enforcement officers to send them out.
Does that go for flashing like open? Does that go to count that for that too?
So it kind of depends on where it is, but when I was looking at the sign code, I do not believe that flashing signs are allowed anywhere. So
How about houses with obnoxious lights?
I have to take a look into that, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Cause there's one.
yeah,
Okay.
I know it.
one.
I know the one.
I know one too.
It's, yeah, so bright, so very bright, but really,
Karen, you're unmuted.
She's got her hands.
she got her hand ready.
Well, okay, so she just unmuted again. Yeah, I'm so sure what's going on.
Maybe her own mic is having trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe could you put it, Karen, if you could hear us, could you put a message in the chat, because we can't hear you.
Remote. Let's try it out. Sometimes that.
We'll be rejoining. It was all about we'll be rejoining.
As a panelist.
Yeah.
Here, now she's a panelist. I don't know if it's really helped. I don't know what to say there.
There
Oh,
she is.
she is.
Here,
We see you now.
can't hear.
Here.
Yeah,
You're
I
on.
can hear you.
Karen, we can see that you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you.
Maybe if
And
we
is
put
her
closed
microphone-
caption on. Maybe, you know. Just say closed captioning on.
She can hear us, right?
Seems like it.
Yes.
Sunday. Okay.
How about, can she call one of our cell phones and put her on speaker?
Of course, it's football time, it's yeah. Oh, I know it wasn't.
So I've recently added you as a panelist now.
Yeah.
Well, now her now she is muted,
Okay, now it looks like your microphone is off, Karen.
but now it's not.
on.
So I don't know what. Yeah,
Um,
it seems like you've done it back and forth. It doesn't seem to make any difference at all. I don't know.
Call in.
Yeah, can you, is there a way?
Do you
for her to
wanna,
call?
my
do you
number.
wanna call in and we can put you on, speaker?
You gave me.
You wanna call one of us?
Two people.
You wanna call my phone?
Sure. Another couple came.
And. Do you wanna just type in my phone number? please?
She can hear you.
Oh, yeah, 808-551-0309.
But I thought I better put my money where my mouth is. If we do something. If you think it's doesn't show. We'll just get the keys.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh,
Hi,
All right, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. I've been on phone calls all day, so.
Yeah, who
You know,
knows?
we have, we received a name of a contact for Honkin House that, the manager, that Marie, Dr. Peoples and Laura will be working with. So that we can just start moving forward. Apparently, there's been a lot of groundwork being done by the city to see exactly what can be done. And, I don't know what the whole process is yet, but we have a contact at Hawken House now that we're going to be working with.
Oh, great. That's good. And do you know, they do have, they are aware, everybody's aware of that's a National Historic Landmark.
Yeah.
All right, it's not a landmark, but on the
It's National Historic
Register,
Landmark.
right. And they want to keep that, they gotta do a lot of stuff. And do it right, and so, who does the work is very important. Not just everybody knows what to do.
Well, the Hawken House manager, that's probably talking to Karen, is Laura Salmon, and last time I saw her, she had the documentation that it was on the National Historic Registry. So they are aware of that. Yeah, and they were working with a consultant who supposedly knew a lot about this stuff. I couldn't tell you the name of them though.
Okay.
So there's that. She's looking for something.
Right, so I know I saw one thing where it was somebody who was gonna repair the roof or whatever, and they were not historic people at all. They were not people who did that kind of thing.
The only thing that happened to the roof was they put a tarp on it.
It's there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't moved forward with that. Anything.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay,
okay,
something to keep in
that's all.
mind.
We'll just keep our eyes on it.
No point in doing the work incorrectly.
Right.
No. Thank you, Sue.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. Any, okay, all right, meeting then, anyone else have anything else? All right, then, do we need a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay, Brian, second.
second.
Okay, everybody seconds, all right, all of those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.